Je luistert naar de podcast Satellite Gourmet, maar deze keer is het Satellite Gourmet on the road. Ik ben namelijk uitgenodigd door Frank Fol en We Are Smart World om hier aanwezig te zijn op een prachtig evenement over het menu van de toekomst. The Menu of the Future. Ik ga praten met enkele gastronomen, meer bepaald de top 2 en de top 3 van de wereld wat betreft groentechefs, radijzen zoals Frank ze noemt. Dus dat wordt een heerlijke dag hier in het restaurant Brut 172 in Nederland, in een klein dorpje bij Maastricht. En het is het Michelin-restaurant van Hans van WOLDE en de gastvrouw Viva. Voor jullie veel luisterplezier en ik moet wel meegeven, this podcast will go on in English. So have fun and listening to what these chefs have to tell. We Are Smart World today is here in somewhere in a little village near Maastricht. We are in Brut 172. Yeah. It's the restaurant of Hans van WOLDE. Why are we here?
First, this is a fantastic place to be here with a lot of people who likes eating vegetables, but also because Hans and EMILE van der STAAK of the Nieuwe Winkel is coming today cooking with Hans and making We're Smart Fusion, the first We're Smart Fusion that we are organizing together. And I'm so proud about it. Yeah. So happy that we can start it up and to bring 5 radishes chefs restaurants together to learn about each other and to make people happy with plant-based food.
Do you want to make a statement here today?
Yes. Always. We Are Smart is there to try convince people that you can be and gastronomic and plant-based together. There is no difference between a classic restaurant and a plant-based restaurant today. A long time ago it was different, but today all chefs are looking forward to the future, make recipes with the vegetables and other ingredients from the region in the right season. When you learn about it, there is no way back. When I started up more than 30 years ago, this was not the issue for me at that moment. For me it was about creativity, and today it's still about taste, because if we cannot make that plant-based food even better than the classical way of cooking, then people will not follow us. And if they not follow us, we cannot change the world.
Bell peppers and cherries.
En loop lekker naar binnen. De meisjes en de jongetjes staan klaar om jullie te ontvangen. Tot straks.
EMILE, chef, if I want you to introduce yourself, what would you say? Who are you?
To introduce myself, I would say that I am somebody who gives a lot of people the opportunity to give a shape to their ambition. This is actually, I'm constantly facilitating the professional lives of some young professionals. That's what I'm mostly busy with and what I mostly like to do. Yes. Besides, I'm also a chef thinking about food and introducing new concepts about food and new ideas. And these come together pretty good in a restaurant setting, actually.
Yes, EMILE, you are number 2 in the top 100 best vegetable restaurants in the world with the Nieuwe Winkel. May I say you are a bit the inventor of the botanic gastronomy, as you call it?
Well, we introduced the idea in the Netherlands for sure. And we work towards a fully plant-based menu over time, so really doing justice to the term of botanical gastronomy in that sense.
Yes. What does it exactly mean for you? What is botanically, what is plant-based? And tell me about that food forest.
Wouter van Eck is the initiator of the oldest food forest of the mainland of Europe. There's a lot to say about botanical gastronomy, literally, of course, botanical, meaning the knowledge about plants, combined with gastronomy. I mean, I'm a chef, I know how to prepare proper food, but people like botanists know a lot about plants, and they can say this plant is edible, this is not edible, and combine those two and you get botanical gastronomy, which is a true necessity if you ask me, if you want to cook a plant-based menu, that you look a bit further than what the supermarket shelves give you year round. And then there's a whole plant kingdom that opens up in front of you there. Over 400 edible plants, for example, in the food forest. And food forestry is actually a revolutionary way of looking at agriculture, because at the moment, most commonly used is agriculture based on annual crops, empty field in spring, a lot of input, big machines, pesticides, the fertilizer. And at the end of the season, you have an empty field again. But this is not how nature works. In our climate, if you do nothing, everything will turn into a forest. So, based on this idea, Wouter said, what if I select edible perennials, plant them after a well thought through design in relation to each other? Will they mimic a forest system? And they actually do. So it grows in volume every year, the soil gets more fertile every year, and there's no input, nothing. And this is what they call succession. And this is what nature is all about. So you can actually produce food without input. And at the same time, it's a very climate robust system of agriculture.
Okay, but the one thing I have to tell you is that it goes a bit slower. Everything goes slower then.
Yes.
And that is what nature is about. Go slow.
Absolutely, we have to dramatically change our perspective, also economically, because now we expect harvest at the end of the season every year. But in a food forest, it takes around 5 years for the first harvest, 10 years after the first serious harvest, and some plants even come in production after 40 years, or Japanese nutmeg tree after 120 years.
Yeah.
So it's a radical different approach. But then you have to also realize that, for example, chestnut, a valuable source of starch in a perennial system, comes in production after 12 years maybe, and then for 400 to 800 years. And it will store carbon in its wood and in the soil. So looking at the future of our planet, this might be a big part of the solution.
Yes, and before you came to that idea, you went around the world to see what's happening over there, because I think in countries of South America or Japan, for instance, they are all into botanic vegetables and growing and so on.
Well, the story is about to design this system, and he realized that, okay, in the Netherlands we are in climate zone 7, but you can actually travel around the world and look for places in the world that are also climate zone 7. And you can travel, not literally, you can do this by reading books or find it on the internet. You can travel through Korea, southern China, Japan, Chile, Andes Mountains, Northern America, Canada, and look around what actually grows there. And then you will see there's a lot more biodiversity, because the last ice age in Europe swept away a lot of the biodiversity. It went into the Mediterranean Sea and the Alp Mountains, and it could not return. While in, for example, America, because Southern and Northern America are connected, over 10,000 of years, the biodiversity could return. So to give you an example, in Europe we have 51 different tree specimens. In America, over 800.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are edible. So doing this, going around the world, looking for edible plants, perennial plants, you find Japanese ginger, Chinese mahogany, a whole lot of variety of nut trees, fruits from Siberia, lemons from Mongolia, all can grow in our climate as well. And they will definitely add to your biodiversity.
Yes. So what can we do here? I think we have to go more to our locals, don't we?
It's not a black and white story.
No.
But for sure you have to be aware of local economy, and when you can get it from nearby you do. But if you have, you take it from further away.
But that idea of WOLDE and its food forest, wouldn't that be an idea that the government, for instance, give money to such environments?
At the moment, the whole evolution already came from people, not from the government. So
That's
over
good.
250 hectares have been planted in the Netherlands, all initiatives by individuals doing this with their own money and taking their own risk. But for sure you can speed up the process if the government gets involved.
Yeah. Last question, Emile. You are cooking with Hans van Wolde. Tell me all about it.
I got into contact with Hans and he suggested why don't we do a for-rent dinner, and then I came here and I said okay, there's only one thing, it has to be fully plant-based, and then he was a bit scared. He was a bit scared because for sure this is not his comfort zone. But I'm actually really proud of him being this famous chef, being on the top over 20 years, to look at the plant-based kitchen and taking the challenge.
Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, Emile van der STAAK. Dear Bas, I asked Emile if he would introduce himself, how would he do that? So I asked the same question to you. How would you say who you are?
Who am I? Let's say easygoing, simple chef coming from the south of Holland that is trying to make its marks in Amsterdam, in quite a competitive city. And I try to bring my roots from the south to the hectic city where a lot of cultures come together and where there is a lot of competition. There is a culture of people that speak before craftsmanship.
Okay, but first of all, you are a chef of a restaurant. That's who you are. Flore. Where is Flore somewhere?
Flore is in the city center of Amsterdam, in Hotel de l'Europe, and it's open for a year, so quite short. Flore is synonym for Plant Kingdom. We used a lot of time to develop and to improve our concept during the pandemic.
I read about you, and first of all, you had another restaurant in Hotel Europe, another concept, and now you are really into more vegetables and plant-based.
Directly from the moment that we needed to sit at home, I had a feeling in my stomach that I thought like, okay, let's use this time wisely. Let's start a project together with my team to see if we can invest time in learning. So back to school, I just put all my chefs together, including my service team, and I asked them a question like, let's dig in the food industry. Let's see how our food is produced, where it's coming from. And you're going to tell me something about all our grains and the production of our bread. You're going to source into the dairy industry. And we did that with a lot of different products that we used. Also with the way how our vegetables are farmed. In a couple of weeks, we just went deeper in every subject. And I was quite shocked. I really thought like, is this really the way we need to work? And is it really the way we want to put ourselves down as a chef? That we say like, we cook local, and we are trying to cook good, and we bring something to the future. That are like, we really don't do that. We got in contact with a couple of organic farmers. So not a lot of organic farmers in Holland. I think it's like 5% of all the farmers. We did a visit to a couple of them, and then on the moment we saw that they had a lot of vegetables that they didn't sell. So I thought, let's go for a takeaway menu that is totally plant-based, and then to push my chefs, we're going to change this menu every week. So we had 11 small dishes that were very easy to prepare at home. We started with that as a lift-off from Bordeaux, the old name, the old restaurant, and a former restaurant was quite well known as an international restaurant that was really on there for a la carte menu.
Yeah.
It was all about high-end products. It was all about luxury. But we thought, let's help this farmer to get rid of his beautiful vegetables because they don't stop growing.
To improve yourself as chef.
As a chef, you're always trying to see what you could do better. If you don't have an idea of what you're doing, you couldn't improve it.
Yeah.
And that's the precious thing that's called time that we used very intensely to really build further on our concept. Mm-hmm. And then we saw that there was so much interest in the vegetable dishes that we did, that we sold like 300, 400 people every weekend on the vegetable menu.
Economically, you could survive or you could live by bringing vegan menus or plant-based menus, really?
Must admit that we didn't make a lot of money with it. We were able to bind local communities to us, and we were able to bring people healthy food and good food at home.
You can't keep that up, of course.
No. So we just thought like, okay, let's see how long it takes. And it's like, it's going to take a couple of months, and it took a bit longer. But in the end, let's see this as an investment where we need to show the people that we could be super creative with local produce, and that we push this as something that we own. And because of the fact that we got new guests coming every week, the menu was sold out 2 weeks before every session. So it went super popular even in a couple of weeks.
How important is an organization as We Are Smart World?
I think in the end, if you see what Frank Fol is building, what's strong is that you see the same as a step now that Michelin is taking with a green star.
That's good one.
Is that this is something that a couple of chefs try to build already for years. Because it's like vegetables are a very big part of my cooking already for I think like 10 years. In the end, you need a part of communication to explain very easy what you do. And that's the same what Frank does with vegetables, is that he tries to really connect all the chefs together. Just like today, he brings EMILE and Hans together. They inspire each other to make an amazing menu. That is the power of Frank. And that is also the power of Michelin, that you put someone on the block, you give him a lot of attention, where something is getting more interesting.
Yes. Bas, last question. Do you think more and more we have to go into plant-based? Or because, you know, if I have to be honest with you, I eat less meat already, but if you say to me, Sabine, you have to eat 100% plant-based, or I will miss my piece of fish.
Me too. I think there is no good or right in the whole system. It's a moment that we're all going to use almonds for making milk, or creating a second problem. So I think it's like in the end, a chef needs to feel his comfort in doing the thing on the best way possible for him or for her. But there is no right way. It's like it's great to use milk if you have a small producer that is making sure that the cows don't get antibiotics and that the production is good, but that they get paid enough per liter to make sure that they can keep a healthy system. In the end, you are what you eat. I think we need to change something in a big scale.
We are on a good way.
For sure.
Thank you very much to have this little and very important talk.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you. I
Good
enjoyed
luck.
it. Thanks.
Albert Kooi, you are the founder of Dutch Cuisine. For the people who don't know really what Dutch Cuisine is, what's it all about?
It started like 7-8 years ago that we asked a couple of chefs, education, how is our food in, let me say, in 50 years? And in that time I just wrote a new book, the Nieuwe Nederlandse Keuken, the New Dutch Cuisine. And I made 5 principles to explain where the food in the future should be. I created 5 principles to let people be inspired by taking the food differently. So the first one is culture, therefore it's Dutch cuisine because I'm Dutch. If you're from France, it's the French cuisine. If you're from South Africa, it's the South African cuisine. So we need to respect our culture. We need to understand about seasoning vegetables. Second is the most difficult one, is health. Health for human, but as well for the earth. So and therefore it started by the classical 80-20 balance of the French gastronomy cuisine. 80% was animal based, a little bit of vegetables as a side dish. That's what I learned. That's my education in gastronomy. So I swapped that to 80% of vegetable. That is for me plant-based. Then principle number 3 is for me more natural food. No chemicals from the industry, no additives, only pure natural and without any kind of, things out of the industry. So number 4 is about quality. And quality is for me respect the farmers who are producing our food, respect the earth, our soil, because the soil needs to be respected as well. We need to have a clean, healthy soil to produce beautiful vegetables, quality vegetables, and at least it should be organic. But rather no labels, just respect the nature like this. And then last principle number 5 is like profit or worth. It's about, okay guys, is it more expensive? No, it's more cheap. My food cost is reducing because using vegetables. Of course, best quality. I pay a fair price for the farmers, but still my food cost is lower than what was on animal-based. With those 5 principles, the manifesto Dutch cuisine, it's a circle around our food, a circle around your menu, circle around your restaurant. Just give you inspiration to think about the future of food.
Of course, you have to be fan of an organization like We Are Smart World.
Oh my God, of course, yes. I do respect Frank so much, and me as well. I think it's more like a collaboration, not only in the Netherlands or in Belgium, I think it's in the whole world. But we need to learn about our history, from our cultural history in our food, to know what's going on the fields, what our farmers are producing. That's important.
Okay.
And sometimes I say, well, a farmer should be teaching chefs, and chefs needs to be teaching our farmers.
Last question. What do you think of this experience so far here at Brut 172?
Hans, I know really a lot, I think more than 25 years. When he started here in Maastricht with Beluga, we once been members of the Patron Cuisiniers. I remember him, real known chef, of course. But we all been trained in those, in the classical French cuisine.
Yes, of course.
And the world is changing. And then when EMILE started, people were starting about the Nieuwe Winkel, what's going on, this guy, and he's growing. And there starts, I think, the future for food with higher education for chefs. That is what I'm trying to do in my hotel school in Leeuwarden, to have better education, not only for cooking, but making the right decisions.
Okay, that's a wonderful thing to end.
Oh.
Thank you,
Okay,
dear Albert,
it's
for this
it's
talk.
my pleasure.
Michael, you are a vegetable chef, as we call. You're on 3rd place in the top 100 as a vegetable chef, Green Guide.
Yes.
You are here at Brut 172 now for the event. It's about food of the future. What is food for the future for you?
I think the most important thing is the sustainability. Is it 100% vegetable with 80%? I think it's the way too. You can't force people you need to do this and you need to do that. I can bring the people to the awareness, to be open-minded, to have a try, to vegetarian kitchen, to the vegan kitchen, to vegetables. Be open-minded to experience it. And I think it's all about taste and an honest product.
It's also about knowledge, I think.
Yeah, of course. For sure today you see like 2 really big chefs who work together and bring their story to the table, and it's really impressive to experience it also, like the philosophy of both chefs. They got their own type of restaurant, their own philosophy of thinking, and also of being a chef. Of course, EMILE is much younger than Hans, but I think it's impressive to see how they both have their own style and their own creativity and bringing things and doing things, and that makes it such a diverse, nice meal and a nice afternoon. And I think all the people at the table also, everybody is
They are impressed.
Impressed, yeah.
Yes. Michael, at your own restaurant in Ghent, you of course have 2 kind of menus. You have vegetable menus, but you still serve fish and meat. Why did you at some point decide to go for vegetables?
I like vegetables. For me, it's much more challenging bringing a great dish with a simple vegetable, great dish with a simple carrot, with a single onion, and it's so nice to be creative with vegetables. And for sure, everybody knows we need to eat more vegetables, and we don't need to eat everyday fish or meat. I think it's much more less meat, but a sustainable producer of the meat. That makes everything working better, I think, and that's also our challenge in the kitchen. Search for the good producers where you work with.
Along with creating vegetable dishes is also creating more difficult dishes, because it asks a lot of techniques.
It makes it so interesting as a chef also. If you're thinking about a good meat or fish dish, the main ingredient is most of the time is the fish, and you're going to think, how are we going to prepare that, and then what are we going to serve with it? And with the vegetables, it's a much more questionary for yourself, like, what are you going to do with it? You push yourself to go and search for new techniques. The most important thing is having a nice meal, having a nice dish, it's the food, it's the taste.
It's not such an easy exercise, I think. 100% plant-based.
No, it's not the yes or the no fact, no? And I think there's a big way between those. But I think if you see the development of this today, if you see 9 years ago when we had the vegetable menu, there was maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10% who would eat vegetables. And if you see it now, it's like getting more and more like 1/4, sometimes 1/3 of the people who eat vegetarian. And then and you feel like, okay, you're always thinking as a chef, you have your style, you have your concept, you have your story also that you write down. But so we'll see what the future brings, but more and more the vegetable will become more and more important. You can make so much interesting and tasteful dishes with vegetables, for sure. You see today, like the dishes of Hans and EMILE, it's impressive.
Michael, congrats! Are you ready
Thank
to be
you.
a daddy in
Yes,
February 23?
yes. When are you ready for that? No, I'm really happy to become father. So
Yes? And you know what it is?
it's a girl.
It's a girl. Do you know the name already?
I'm not gonna say that. No.
Okay,
No,
okay.
no.
We'll see that later.
New challenge.
Congratulations to you and your wife,
Thank
your
you.
lovely wife. And thank you for this interview.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Michael
Thank you.
Vreemuth.
Maken we deze op basis van noten. Dus selectie van schilnoten, waarbij een aantal ingemaakte groenten en fruit, vinaigrette op basis van rozenbotten. Die volgt het. Alsjeblieft de notenpartij.
Dear Hans van WOLDE, your restaurant was the place to be today for this big event about the menu of the future. Why did you want to do this?
Because I want to give the young people something more as only fish and meat. I want to give them the future and to try harder than before, because it is easy, of course, to make fish, but today I thought, wow, only vegetables and fruits and nuts, it's harder than I thought.
The techniques are...
Wow, my God! It was harder than I thought. It was 2 o'clock this morning that we preparing the dessert, and it was not all right. And about 2:30 in the morning, it was all right. And my staff said, "Okay, see you tomorrow." And this morning, it was not all right. And we prepared it again, and then it was all right. It is very hard. EMILE is really a king in the kitchen. But okay, you don't have to think about fish and meat, only vegetables. And the step to make only vegetarian food,
It's a big one.
is a very big one. Yeah.
And why is it a big one? Because you think about your clientele and your guests and
Not only that. It's not a world that you really know. And I'm a little bit older than EMILE and a little bit older than a lot of guys. I'm 45 and...
You were grown up with the French cuisine, I think?
We're growing up. We're not growing up with vegetarian kitchen, but I buy this farm and I said to everybody, okay, now it's time to make 60-40. About in 2 years, I hope to do 80-20. And that's, EMILE said, oh, that's a very good score.
So is that the way we have to go? Do it naturally, organically,
That's
so
it.
the guests don't really know they are eating 80-20?
No, not that really don't know, but they have to use to it. When you are in war and there is no food, and you get food,
You eat potatoes.
you eat potatoes. That's really true. So that's what I want to say.
We don't have to go back to the war, Hans.
No, we don't have to back to the war, but
I understand.
we have to feed each other with very good food. And when there is no beef, then there's no beef.
Yeah.
When there is no soul, there is no soul.
Is it because our planet is important, or is it because just simple we have to eat less meat and less fish? Why do you want to go to 80-20 so very badly?
It's not only the planet, of course, because there are enough of animals, but we eat too much. We fish too much. Eat more vegetables. Eat more fruits. Our children, if you see, my son, when I make a very nice vegetarian course for him, he watched me like, what do you make for me? But when I make spaghetti without meat and only with tomatoes, he eat it all. let's try that we do a little bit more for the children.
So you say 80-20, plant-based, Brut 172, and for you as a chef, is that the way you want to grow even further?
If I hear Emile with the techniques, what he do with all the vegetables, it's something. I get a little bit, and it's for me a new world, and I'm not afraid. I'm a chef who's hungry. I hope, to help the world a little bit.
There's one thing, we can't go on like it's going on now.
No, that's true. Thank you very much for the conversation.
Okay.
Satellite Gourmet is een audio- en videopodcast. Abonneer je op Spotify, Google of Apple Podcast en het YouTube-kanaal. Blijf up-to-date van nieuwe afleveringen. Volg ons op Instagram of Facebook @SatelliteGourmet. Altijd dankbaar als je een reactie nalaat op de afleveringen via de site satellitegourmet.com.